You are now listening to The Dot.
What's going on, guys? Greg here, and you are tuned into the April 2023 edition of The Dot, the show where we go over all the best new music of the month. And it only took me to March last month to forget to recap the music news each month. So I will start there in April. And I think we have to start with Coachella, one of my favorite times of the year because Coachella does such a great job with their streams. They streamed all stages this year. No interviews, no hosts, no bullshit, just the music. And the biggest headline is unfortunately a negative one that came out of the festival this year, which was Frank Ocean botching the Sunday night headliner slot they gave him. That was already a little controversial as to why he got that slot over artists like Blackpink and Bad Bunny. But he came out and really may have just changed the trajectory of his entire career with what he did on Sunday night. A lot of different rumors, nothing really confirmed, but essentially it just seems like he diva'd out, tried to change things last minute, tried to change things that he already agreed to, that Coachella sunk a lot of money and resources into, and then really just put on a half-ass performance weekend one, ended up pulling out, citing due to injury for weekend two. And I think with that, Frank Ocean has gone from one of these mysterious R&B stars to just looking like a pretentious asshole and kind of more into that Kanye West category. So it was a shame to see that, but with bad things birth beautiful things. We saw on the weekend too, after Frank pulled out, we saw a trio take the stage to close out the festival. Banghorn House Mafia, aka Four Lex again, aka Fred again, Fortet, and Skrillex all came together to step into that headliner slot on a Sunday of weekend two, along with Blink-182. I don't want to forget about them to close out the festival. They're called Pangborn Mafia because they all rented a place and Pangborn is a place in England where they all rented and kind of came together to perfect like Fred's Boiler Room and a lot of Skrillex's new albums. So that's where that comes from. And yeah, I mean, I think those are the two things that really stood out from the festival. Again, something I always look forward to because Coachella has such a good pulse on new music. I think another thing we have to touch on is Robert Smith of The Cure joining the fight along with Taylor Swift against Ticketmaster, against ticket scalping. I think the more bands and artists, and especially the more notable bands and artists that join this fight, the quicker we're going to get a resolution to this. I don't know what the resolution is going to be, but people have gotten creative. We've seen Zach Bryan and people like Maggie Rogers come up with some solutions where you can only get tickets at the box, or Zach Bryan kind of took hold of the entire distribution of his tickets. So we'll see where that goes, but definitely newsworthy. Some collaborations that were confirmed this past month, that three huge ones, and all three of these for collab albums that we can expect later this year could be in the running for album of the year. I'll start with Metro Boomin and JID, both confirmed a collab album that will be coming out this year. And granted that JID was, in my opinion, the best album last year, I can only imagine how good this project's going to be. Amine and Kaytranada also announced a collab project. Amine came out for Kaytranada's live set at Coachella, and they both confirmed via social media that they're going to be putting out a collab album this year. And this one's really interesting. Madlib announced that he is finishing up his collab album with Mac Miller. So that's unreleased Mac Miller music, and that will be quite a listen. I mean, it'll probably be an emotional listen for a lot of people, and it'll be really interesting to hear what the tone of that album is going to be. Madlib's really been taking his time, so it'll be really interesting to see how that project sounds. This is definitely something we need to keep an eye on. Grimes is splitting royalties with an AI developer as they split 50% each, and Grimes is allowing her fans to use an AI generated version of her voice to create songs. So she is really the first artist of note or big artist to really lean in to this AI world that we live in. And hey, it only took to 2023 to get some significant computer generated music out into the world. I think this is something worth noting voting because AI's in the beginning stages of the takeover that we all expected. And I didn't expect it to get into the music industry this quickly, but here we are. And of course, it's Grimes that is leading into it. So something to keep our eye on as we move forward in the music industry as a whole. But let's get to the music, some of the artists and some of the music you may have overlooked in yet another busy month of new music. And I just want to say something, and this is something that goes for every single episode of The Dot. And I feel this way about every single artist I'm going to feature on this episode, every artist I featured on last episode and all episodes before that. Every single one of these artists are criminally underrated. And I really hope, and I think the goal of this podcast, if anything, is to prove and to hopefully get you guys to agree with my statement of every artist you hear on this podcast should be 10, 20, 100, a million times more popular than they are. And it just goes to show how much raw talent we have out there in the industry right now. And we're going to start with somebody who fits that description perfectly. Emmett Kai, who I'm so excited he called into the episode this month. He released an EP called Heaven in Heat on March 31st, very last day of March. Again, this episode recovering releases from March 25th all the way up through April 21st. So Emmett Kai released Heaven in Heat on March 31st. Emmett Kai is a New York-based artist and calls his music freak pop. And this is actually the second time we're featuring Emmett Kai on The Dot. Again, when he released his last album back in 2020, we featured his song Tiger Bomb that you can hear in the background right now. And these first two artists, Emmett Kai and Tycho Jones is going to be the next artist. We're going to follow the same blueprint because both of these artists were on the podcast in the past. So we're going to dive into those songs that we featured years ago and then show you guys some of the music they just released in this last 30 days. So without further ado, we are going to check out that old song from Emmett Kai. We're going to take a peek into Tiger Bomb that was featured back on The Dot in 2020. And then we're going to have Emmett Kai join us on the podcast to tell us about the song Hoolywood, Hooly Wood, off his new EP, Heaven in Heat. Enjoy.
Hey, this is Emmett Kai, and you're listening to The Dot. I wanted to share some words about my new song Hoolywood off of my latest EP, Heaven in Heat. Hoolywood is a song about a knight in shining armor drifting through the forest on horseback when all of a sudden he comes upon a mysterious figure by a creek bed. The moon is glowing, and the two strangers immediately feel safe with one another. This song is about relief, alliance, and safety through the newfound friendship. I played all of the instruments on this record and conceived this upstate New York in the comfort of my own home. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy.
Nothing ever comes.
Tiger Balm from Emmett Kai right into Hoolywood off the new EP Heaven in Heat that came out on March 31st, 2023. Really cool to hear the versatility that Emmett Kai has with those two songs. First song being this 80s guitar synth masterpiece into the more abstract sound of the new EP that he just released. And remember, that is freak pop, according to Emmett Kai. Let's go to another artist that we will, like I said, take the same blueprint of playing one of their older songs and then bringing them onto the podcast to introduce a song they released this past month. This is Tycho Jones, who back in 2020 snuck into the top 150 songs of the top 300 songs of the year with his track Don't Be Afraid. It was the lead single off his debut album Tycho that came out in May 2021. And we are going to check out the Don't Be Afraid song, and then that's going to go right into Pink and Blue, the track that was released on April 7th this past month. Tycho Jones is one person that goes by the they them pronoun, and earthagency.com has a nice little write-up. They say that uplifting and chill are two words Tycho Jones uses to describe their own music. Listen to it and you can hear exactly what they mean. It's a dream combination, a feeling only music like Tycho's has that can put a hopeful spin on even the dreariest of days. So really great rundown of who Tycho Jones is. So let's go all the way back to 2020 to the song Don't Be Afraid. We'll listen to a little bit of that and then we'll bring Tycho Jones onto the podcast to introduce their new song.
Tiptoeing around in space, do the dash, do the race, throw the cash in their face, on the moon but out of phase. City map, okay, double back, rotate. Long way, long way, long way. There's no way, no way. Long way, long way, long way. Yeah. Tycho, don't be afraid. You've got money to make. Tycho, don't be afraid. 'Cause it's never too late, yeah. Come on, V, copy and paste. Copy and paste, copy and paste. Come on, me, set the pace, set the pace. Wanna link for your chain, grass on ground, rough terrain. You man.
Hey there, my name is Tycho Jones, and you're listening to my brand new song, Pink and Blue, which is off my upcoming EP, Negative Space. This tune is about the struggles of youth and growing up, but also about looking to the future with a positive light. Horizons going on forever, forever moving forward despite what life may throw at you. I hope you enjoy it.
Itching as the clock ticks, you know what I'm going through. Running out of sterling, it's the queen watching you. Skipped another lunch, but you missed another lifeline, and it seems so long, but it fades so fast. You're emotionally numb. If you gave me a chance, I could pull your head from going under. Horizons looking pink and blue. Horizons looking right at you. Horizons looking like another bruise. Horizons going on forever.
Tycho Jones with Don't Be Afraid from a few years ago, right into Pink and Blue, his brand new single that was released in April. You can hear those catchy pop elements in his song, something that I think a lot of people are going to really cling to as he moves on in his career. This new EP coming up, hopefully we have another album in the near future, could really be a springboard for Tycho Jones to rise in popularity. Now let's dive in to The Universe Is Holding You. the debut album from the Kenyan British artist-producer named Mal from Nowhere. This album came out in the middle of the month, April 14th, and it was fantastic. I wasn't familiar with Mal from Nowhere prior to this, but there's a really nice blurb on Apple Music that I want to read, and it says, about Mal from Nowhere's new album, The Universe is Holding You. It says, Kenyan British artist-producer Mal from Nowhere's The Universe is Holding You delves into life's mysteries through a combination of alt-rap and inventive melodies. Across 15 immersive tracks, the singer expertly curates broken beat, indie pop, R&B, folk, and hip-hop instrumentation to accompany his emotive reflections. I really like that blurb because it shows how many different genres Mal from Nowhere touches, and having the world aspect, the Kenyan aspect of his music really shows. So we're going to go to the second song off that album called Dogtail. Enjoy.
I'm not fine, can't say my piece, I need time. Handbrake, release the gears, grind like I can't unmake the mode that's inside. Tangled thoughts are caught on each side. When I try to separate the code I live by from the roles I chose to help me survive. Help you and I keep peace of mind. Hold me closer, tear me up again. Twisted paper, thank me later. Pull me under, you're my oxygen. Let me breathe. Wait, you've got salt in your heart. Gravel in the socks won't stop if you stray from the path. Clay hands built for the craft. Made plans beautifully laid so our gods get a laugh. So hold me closer and take my breath. Hold my ankles down while I stretch. Keep me grounded right till my death. If you let me go, then I won't come down. No one I'll find it. It's all timing. Steady, I'm climbing. I don't mind it. Give it a moment, you'll find it. No gorgeous guidance. No one's are trying. No one's are trying. Oh no, I'll find it. So timing. Steady, I'm climbing. I don't mind it. Give it a moment, you'll find it. No gorgeous guidance. No one's are trying. No one's are trying. Yeah. No one's are trying. No one's are trying.
I highly recommend you take the time to listen to The Universe is Holding You, that album from Mal is Nowhere. It really takes you on a journey through a lot of different genres, some interludes into some really fantastic songs. Happy to feature the track Dogtail on the podcast this month. So I've talked about in the past, and this is something I will always hold true to, one of the best sources of new music is always going to be your friends. And this band was sent to me, this album was sent to me by a good friend of mine, and put it on, took a listen to it, and really within the first couple tracks you could tell how special the album was. It turned out after I did a little bit more research, this was the debut album from Oracle Sisters called Hydranism, and this came out on April 7th this past month. And this was a long-awaited debut album because the band Oracle Sisters is a trio made up of childhood friends Louis, Christopher, and Julia. They released 2 EPs a few years ago that gained a lot of traction. They got millions upon millions of streams for those 2 EPs. And then once the pandemic hit, they went out on a remote island and recorded this debut album, Hydranism, and finally released it for us here in April 2023. The band is touring this year, so definitely try to catch them as they come to your area. But it was hard to choose. It was very hard to choose a song to feature on the podcast just because they had really good songs like Hail Mary, Tramp Like You on this album. But I decided to go with RBH just because of the song structure. And you'll hear right off the bat the instrumentation that leads into this track. So this is RBH from Oracle Sisters off their debut album that was released this past month called Hydranism. right beside her, or RBH from Oracle Sisters, off that debut album that was just released, Hydranism. Like I talked about, really great band, really great album. Look forward to spinning this album over the summer. I think this is like perfect beach, nice weather music, so something I'll keep in my back pocket there. So we have a bit of a theme this episode, and we're gonna bring another artist who has previously been on The Dot back onto The Dot this month after he released some new music for us. This is GOSTO, and GOSTO was featured back in February 2022 with his song Lucky Night, which was seriously one of my favorite call-ins I got all of last year, where he talked about the inspiration behind that song Lucky Night was he would go on strolls in the evening, and he lives in Amsterdam, so the song was basically some things that he encountered on those walks in the evenings of Amsterdam. We're really excited to have him back on the podcast here in April 2023, a little over a year later, because he released yet another great song. He's a great artist. Obviously, he's releasing a lot of great music. This song is called The Kid, and GOSTO called in to tell us about this song, making him one of the very few artists who not only has been featured twice, but has called into the episode twice to introduce their songs, and we are very grateful. So I'm going to throw it over to GOSTO to introduce this new song, The Kid.
Hi, this is GOSTO, and thanks for having me on The Dot. I was asked to tell a little bit about my new single called The Kid. The Kid is a collaboration with a really amazing artist called Adjoa, and we've known each other for more than 10 years, and while we got into the studio, we just started talking about a topic to write on, and we figured that we've known each other for more than 10 years, and over these years so much has changed, and how we got to know each other was in our study times. We were both studying at the Conservatory of Amsterdam, and how our music scene world has just gotten so much more serious now, and back in those days we used to just play and jam without any business talks or anything, you know. There was just a lot of time, and it was so much fun, and these days it's just you have so much more responsibility around you to take care of, income you need to secure. So yeah, we wrote this song about just keeping close contact with your inner child, you know, to keep things free, to feel unprejudiced. Yeah, this is what The Kid is about, and enjoy listening. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I'm looking for the child in me, a feather not afraid to fall. Used to be so quick on my feet, till it slowed down on the bottom, dropped. No more time for memories, no more time for apologies. Wish I could follow the course of the clock. Going round and round and never stops. The kid that I once was, the time that I still got. The kid that I once was, when did we lose touch? The kid that I once was, the time that I still got. The kid that I once was. The world is looking serious, and maybe less mysterious. Close the eyes and look at what we've become. A kid with some experience. The past is weighing heavier. My hair is going pale. Keep on growing back in time till I find the life that we inhale.
this is Sam from Nutana. Thank you very much for having me on The Dot. My song, Garden, which you're going to hear, musically I was going for kind of a J.J. Cale vibe. And lyrically, I'm not really sure what this song is about. I originally had some different lyrics that were too stupid to use, so I knew I had to change them. And I guess I just thought a garden was a good metaphor for life. So either way, here it is, and you can also hear it on my debut album, Nutana, which is available now. Thanks again for having me.
Taken for granted the seeds that I planted. Turn my leaf over, 5 4-leaf clover. You can be sure, if it's still alive, that only the strong will survive. It's just like a garden. Time in the summer, there is no other. Reap what you have sown, just wait till it's full grown. But I've always heard the one day will come when all of us shine in the sun. It's just like a garden. It's just like a garden.
Beautiful track there from Nutana called The Garden. Interesting intro where he said, I don't really know what the lyrics are about here, but that's why we love music so much. That song came together great and just shows how talented of a musician Nutana is. And look, same shit, different month. 30 minutes snuck up on me again. I still got 3 songs and 3 artists I want to feature on this episode, so we're going to fly through it. We're going to go to Chris Ulrich, who released his sophomore album, Big in the USA, on March 31st. Chris released his first EP back in 2014. We're now in 2023, where he has just released his second album. And he's an indie rock singer-songwriter from Canada. And his Spotify bio actually said a powerful statement. I'm just going to pick out one sentence. It says, Chris's sonic fingerprint can be heard throughout the powerful music movement happening in the middle of Canada. So we're going to check out the song You've Got to Be Patient off Chris Ulrich's new album, Big in the USA. And then just for time's sake, we're going to go right into the band Turtle Doves, who released Secret Weapon this past month, which is one of my favorite singles of the month. That came out at the very end of March as well. So after those 2 songs, we're going to wrap it up with the artist Kai Bosch and Call It an Episode. Enjoy, guys.
You've got to be patient. You've got to breathe. Take a step back so you can see. Let it all go. Burn it all down. You've got to be patient. listening, you can say what you really mean. It's on the table, come and clean. Hold it up, a level spirit. If you get tilted, you'll feel it. Keep it inside the double lines.
Turtle Doves with their new single Precious Metals, and I wish I could keep that song going. Definitely go listen to that entire thing. You could hear how that was building up. Really terrific song. Like I said, one of my favorite singles of the entire month. All right, guys, we are past the 30-minute mark. I feel like once I get past that, it's like I'm getting played out at some sort of award ceremony. So let me go fast here. This episode, we listened to Emmett Kai, Tycho Jones, Mal from Nowhere, Oracle Sisters, GOSTO, Nutana, Chris Ulrich, and we just heard Turtle Doves. We're going to get played out today by Kai Bosch with his single Spider off the Spider EP that was released on April 14th. He is from England, and Apple Music actually did a quick interview with him where they asked him his 3 favorite albums, and it was really interesting. He said Lana Del Rey, Lorde, and Laurel, with Laurel's album Dog Violet, which I actually have up in my apartment. It's such a beautiful album. I just thought that was a really interesting 3. You can kind of hear where the inspiration comes from with Kai Bosch. Guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Dot. Make sure to keep track of the tours coming to your town. Do what you can to support these artists so they can keep making great music for us, and always remember,
it only happens once a month, so you must be on The Dot.
Love is a spider, I keep it inside my fist. It's crawling up your